Yeah, I don't like no vinegar based. Vinegar and mustard.
Our nigga got their own signature flavor.
Now look.
They got that from Young. They got that from Young. They got the sauce from Young. Now look, I will tell you this. I got turned on to this. Being in the Carolinas. That mustard-based barbecue sauce.
So I want to make sure that we say a couple things. I know we got some elected officials in the room, but you know there's some legal ramifications. We're not talking about voting today. We are strictly talking about issues. And so when you refer to anything and anyone, I want to make sure, especially our elected officials, you know, whether we're talking about Kamala Harris or Donovan McKinney or Tyrone Carter, we're talking about them in their position as they're in today, not what they're running for. And that's important because of who's funding this event today. So we're talking to elected officials, not candidates. We're talking about issues, not necessarily elections and the election that's coming up. It's policy, not campaigns that we're talking about today. And I'll continue to explain that as we move forward. And so I want to move forward to Donovan McKinney to talk a little bit more about affordable housing. And I want to get into tenants' rights as well as we talk about this.
Okay, you want me to lead into tenants?
Please.
Okay, got you. So, building off of what my colleague said, Chair Tyrone Carter, one of the things that, for me, being a millennial, the youngest black currently serving in the state legislature, at 32, I bought my house at 29. And how I ended up doing that, and it was because of my wife, she literally pushed me to buy. I wasn't trying to buy, but I'm sure glad I did because I did not know what the next 3 years was going to look like in terms of this housing market. And one of the things that we had to make sure we had in order was credit and actual savings, money put away that we can show the bank when we go in as first-time home buyers that we have the equity or the actual means to do the closing of the house and do all the paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork when it comes to owning a home, which none of us knew growing up. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of my grandmother lost her house. She owned for 53 years. She lost it in 2014 because of foreclosure. And so, none of this information was passed down to young people like me. And my issue is, especially with young black men starting their families, looking to become homeowners, you gotta understand the system. You gotta understand the interest rates. You gotta understand your monthly payments when it comes to mortgage versus, leasing a house or renting a house. And at the end of the day, Rep. Carter touched on it, once you're a homeowner, everything falls on you. You're the sole responsible person to make sure things get fixed. When my furnace went out this past winter, who had to pay for it?
Can't call somebody else.
Me, right? And then also having insurance. That's a whole nother thing too. And the riders that come with insurance and what's covered, what's not covered, because insurance companies take advantage of us because we don't read everything. You got to read all what's on the fine print. And so, I want to lead into, because that's a whole other topic, I want to lead into tenants' rights and the fact that people do have a right to withhold your dollar for rent when things aren't being done at your home. So when you're leasing or when you're renting, and say your furnace goes out, say your water heater goes out, whatever it may be, you have that right as a tenant to withhold payment in order to get that fixed. However, we're not telling folks to go spend that money because that's what sometimes happens in our community. The money comes in and it leaves right out. Quick, it's burning a hole in your pocket. Am I wrong? This is what goes wrong in our community. I hear it time and time again from my constituents. Well, I had the money and then I spent it. Well, we have to be disciplined when it comes to financial responsibility and paying our bills. So, but you also have the right to withhold payment when things might not be happening and your tenant or your landlord is a scumbag and not willing to fix anything. So, we just have to make sure that people know their rights, but also make sure you save your money as much as you can because you don't know when the next emergency is going to happen.
Let me jump in on that.
Yeah.
As a person that owns houses.
But you're not a scumbag, though.
Right. But by the time I take somebody to court, I'm thousands in.
Yeah.
Most people don't communicate with you when they owe you.
Yeah.
They avoid you. I've got a young lady right now. I know she lost her job, went to school with her people. It's like, you got to have a conversation with me because your light's still on.
Yeah.
Can't live anywhere for free. And we put money in the budget for tenants to have attorneys represent them down at 36th District Court. So they have the right to do it, but you got to talk about escrow. Like you say, if you owe rent, you can't go spend it. And then when you go to court, you don't have it. So I think the educational piece that has not been discussed, financial literacy is a hindrance in the black community. We got to talk about that, because you make 100,000 don't mean you got 100,000.
Right.
Because by the time them guys get their hands in your check and you get home, it's like, wait a minute, who are these people? We got to have those conversations.
That's true, TC.
No, so you're right. And so right now, the population in Detroit and Warren, in Macomb County, Wayne County, population is growing. We're talking about not only home ownership, but we're also talking about you renting and or leasing property to live in. So as a high school student, you're going to college, and whether you're living in Michigan or going abroad, you need to understand what your rights are as a tenant, number one. Number two, in Detroit and in Macomb County, as population grows, as a home owner, as a business owner, and a person who owns real estate, and as a person who used to live in an apartment for years, it's important for us as men to understand our rights as tenants and homeowners. It's also important for us to educate our young sons about their rights, because everybody graduate from high school don't go straight into a home, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them go into apartments. And in today's society, there are all kinds of practices, from predatory eviction practices to escalating rents that's going on right now in Michigan. And so, and I want both of you to jump in on this as well. How are we as leaders, whether you're in Warren or in Macomb County or Oakland County as an elected official, or how are you from the state legislature? What are you doing currently to fight to make housing more affordable? And just as important, what legislation is going on to make sure we're protecting tenants' rights, and then we can move forward?
That's a state ledge question.
Okay, so I can go real quick. What we're doing is we're putting money into housing budgets. We're also looking at how housing is done in certain cities. So, and we talked about this before we got here. There's an unregulated area in housing that we had no idea was not that deal. What is it, mobile homes, or what do we call it?
Trailer park.
Trailer parks. So now trailer park is the new frontier for groups with money, because they're able to buy them and they're not regulated. And I sit on regulations. I'm the chair of regulatory reform. So anything that gets regulated comes through us. We had no idea that homes are regulated, apartments are regulated, but mobile parks are not. So if you're an investor, if you go and buy a mobile park, because people can't just pick up their stuff and move, you can come up with an idea of how you're going to raise rent 20%. And if it's not regulated, how do you address it? And the majority of the people live there because of their financial stability or instability. So every day, we bring new things to us that folks are saying, well, you didn't fix this. Well, you know what? We got to stab the closest alligator to the boat. And right now, 250,000 people live in those communities, and most of them are over 60. And they're on fixed incomes. So they don't have a lot of time. So if somebody it's like an emergency room. If somebody jumps in front of you in the line, there's a reason we had to do this. Because if we don't address this, we're going to have a homeless population. But when we get back to housing, it all comes down to two things: supply and demand, and regulations. The city of Detroit has done a phenomenal job of making people licensed. But as a homeowner, if I got to pay $1,500 to get a lead inspection, You think I'm gonna eat that?
Right.
It's called pass along in business.
Right.
So there's been some policies that the cities have implemented that have raised the cost of rent also. So if we want to sit down and have a conversation on how we do it, then I think we need to do that. But legislatively, different cities have different ordinances.
Right.
So then you want local control.
Right.
So how much control do you want the state to have?
Well,
And we'll get into that because, that's part of, the back end red tape that every man needs to understand, because it also leads into owning a business, understanding what the requirements are behind zoning, the red tape, what the requirements are behind owning a home, what the requirements are about owning a rental property. And some people lose property by not understanding those things.
So you touched on what we've done. We've had traveling financial literacy classes because we don't talk about that in families. We didn't talk about it in our house. We didn't talk about it in my cousin's house. All we knew is things happened. Well, when you get older, you get your first job. Nobody sits us down and say, 30 years from now, you might think about retiring. No, I got this money now. I'm about to get me an apartment so I can get these girls over here so I can get some pussy. Okay, let's call it for what it is.
Keep it real.
It costs.
All right.
It costs. Nobody's having that conversation, and we're the only culture that we will kick our kids out at 18.
yeah.
You don't throw a kid in the pool if he can't swim. We need to rethink how we do this.
So if I could just touch on two things that you said real quick. When you talk about the manufactured housing thing, like TC, Donovan, state ledge, but this really got started when a resident in Warren, when a resident in Warren went to their elected official locally and said, hey, I'm having this issue in my neighborhood. And so when we talk about housing and stuff like that, there's so much as just a resident that you can do. You can pay attention to what your city council is doing. And when they're building apartment complex, you go, hold on, no, we don't want multi-story units. We want houses in here that we can afford.
Right.
There's a lot that a city can do if we went to our city council meetings and just paid a little bit of attention. If we went to our commission meetings and paid attention to what's going on, where we can add our voice to that. And then that gets us way back to the state ledge where they go, oh, mobile home units don't have regulations? Well, we can do something about that. But they got a job, but as a citizen in America, as a black man, we got a job to protect our communities. And and I just love a lot of what you talk about with kids. I'm 31 years old, youngest one up here. My dad actually instilled in me a lot with home ownership and responsible stuff. And so when the house we're in right now, he bought and said, look, I can buy another house, I can buy another car, but I can only have one son. And so it's like, I'm gonna take care of my son so I can take care of my grandkids and pass it on. I know I got a lot of gray hair. Don't be looking at me like that, man. Don't be looking at me. I know I got.
He grayed early.
Yeah, man.
Started graying.
Man, I was graying in elementary school, man. Elementary school, 31 years young. But a lot of those mentalities about incurring generational wealth, my dad kept pressing on me. And even a couple years ago, the housing boom, I know what we bought our house for. And I was like, Dad, we can sell our house for 3 times what we bought it for. And he's like, I'm not selling this house. I'm like, why not? We can make more money. And he's like, because as long as I have this house, you'll always have a home. Your kids will always have a home, and that's important.
And so I want to make sure that, I back up just a tad bit, because we're talking about a number of different things that have to do with stability for black men. And that's very important when it comes to getting the right woman in your life, when it comes to having kids, when it comes to being a business owner. Part of moving all of that forward is having some stability. And so we're talking about stability, but we're also talking about how politics plays a role in you having stability in your life. So I want to back up a little bit and make sure that everybody in this room understands that politics is involved in your life from the cradle to can I say it? Can I curse? Is it all right? To the motherfucking grave. Politicians and politics is involved in your life from the moment you are born, and you don't know how to write nothing, you don't even know what a piece of paper is, and somebody signs your birth certificate, that's a politician usually, to your death certificate, which is signed also by a clerk normally, or a politician. And everything in between, how you make money, how much money you make, where you work, where you live, how you live, part of that, politics plays a role in all of that. And so if you're sitting here today thinking, oh, they talking about some bullshit, what the fuck are they talking about? No, man, we talking about things that's going to affect your everyday life from here going forward, and before now and after now. And so there are a couple topics that I want to make sure that we cover, man, that are very intricate for me, and for the care of black men and how we care for our families. You know, I know we talked a little bit about housing, but in order to have a home, or in order to make sure that you are able to maintain an apartment, you gotta have some income. And in Michigan, we have some of the tightest laws, most strictest laws, and this is one of the places where a living wage just ain't as good as I think it really should be. And so locally, that has living wages can be decided locally through local measures sometimes. But then we also have some state reps here and business owners who pay people, and I want y'all to jump in on this and talk about how important it is to keep employees and make sure they're making a living wage and make sure that they're coming to work and being productive, but also being able to get paid to take care of their family. What is the living wage? What does it mean? What is it in Michigan? And how does it affect black men today? Tyrone, you want to start, or we can give it to the young guy?
Okay, so again, we're dealing with a subjective word. What is living wage? It goes back to what is your standard of living? What are your expectations? What is your skill level? Okay, I've got a company, and I got guys that, you know, you want to talk about dependable. Half of it, if I paid them a job, paid them to lay down, they'd stand up. Because they don't come to work. They do not come to work. I got a generation that does not come to. Any other business owners feel that? Yeah. It ain't just me. I don't know if it's a generational thing. But we have a group of young folks that want to make all the money with the least amount of work. Yes, sir. And that's not how it works. So how do we change that dynamic? Because again, and you may not want to hear this, most black businesses are one generation. You know why? We come home and we talk about the bad things. We talk about who stole from us, who didn't come to work, what we had to do. Meanwhile, we're sending our kids to the best schools, right? Kids get older, they wake up, and we pass away, they be like, hey, first guy won't just get have it. We got to do a better job of talking about what these businesses have done to the communities. Yeah. But when we talk about a living wage, I hear that. But what's a living wage? In California, it's what now? 15, 17, 18? It's going up to 10-something next year with the Supreme Court. As an employer, if I've got $100 per hour allocated for security, and I'm paying $10 an hour, I can get 10 people. If it goes up to $15, I'm not down to 6 people. We got to figure out how to balance this. And if you think that when folks get a raise that things aren't going to go up to, a rising tide lifts all boats. Everything else is going to. So what's the idea? How can we fix this? Because I'm willing to work on it. How do we fix this? What's a good wage? What's a living wage? What's reasonable? Is 15, 17, 19?
It's within you. It's you. Like, you just can't put a wage on living.
Exactly.
Like, all these people down there marching at Burger King talking about paying some rent with. What the hell? Why the city council people don't even
now you gotta remember, idea, man? You look like you my age. A Burger King job was supposed to be a starter job. It wasn't supposed to be raise your family and retire from unless you were the manager. So let's talk about how we got here. When I go to places and I see 60 and 70-year-old people greeting me, nobody wants to get up and go to work at that age unless they have to. So we've got to figure out, it all goes back to how we started. Most of us started, when I hired in the Sheriff's Department in 1984, I was making $6.99 an hour. $6.99. $1.50 over minimum wage. You know why? It was an employer's market. Now, it's an employee's market.
minimum wage right now is 10.
I thought it was
No, it just raised to 10.33. It's 10.33 now. It was $10 and some change in 2023. There was a lawsuit last year, went to Supreme Court, and it just got raised to 10.33 an hour, I think.
And it's going to go up next year too.
It's going to go up next year too. But
and I would love
10.33 for minimum wage is, to me, is not a living wage.
Okay. You an employer or an employee?
Both. I'm an employer and I have clients, but
Okay. Well,
but I
it
definitely-
depends on the service industry and the service you're providing.
well, I pay my employees $17 an hour, so I'm a little bit above.
Okay. You
minimum
paying
wage.
benefits or they 1099?
They get benefits too.
Okay. You got some openings?
We always hire, pretty much.
See, because-
and part of the reason why we always hire is because we get people who come in, get the job, and really don't want to get a work. So we're always consistently hiring.
So, how do we change that mindset from flipping jobs? And I see some hands over there. They want to jump in. They over there double dutching. They ready to go. Have this conversation. Because again,
Well, look at this, man.
how we look at it is, you have to look at a skill set for the job that you're applying for. It always says starting wage up to. And that's the negotiable part based on your skills and what you bring to the job. Everybody can't start at the top. Most starter jobs are meant to be that. Fast food jobs when I was growing up was what? A starter job.
it was
Now
a
people think it's the
teenager
end all
job.
be all.
That's what it's for.
But
That's it.
nowadays you
Teenagers and
have
retirees. That's it.
That's
but,
it. But now you got folks trying to raise families on it.
Yeah, you can't do that. And
No.
Who tricked them into thinking they can do that?
The reason
The
why
thing-
the
He's got-
economy is so messed up
Come
now.
on, come on step to the mic, come on, brother. Come on over here.
Well, let me get my.
Go ahead, go ahead. Who wants you to speak? Who wants you to speak? Go ahead. Please, it's on you. Let's go.
I know, but
And then what I need you to do, what I need you to do is just say your name and before
my
you
name's
speak.
Monty, man.
Let's go, Monty. Let's go.
Only thing I'm saying is, man, y'all talking about what's hurting the black community. It's we keep voting black politicians that keep tricking our own people.
Yeah.
Period. A lot of people just telling us what we want to hear, bro.
I ain't telling you.
No, you been speaking the real shit. I ain't lying. But I'm telling you, we keep voting them in because they black, and they ain't on nothing but their own self. Our whole city council, everything got destroyed down there because we did that.
Can I tell you how that happens? It's-
I know how it happens.
No, no.
Well, you know,
No,
Go ahead.
How many? And just being real, how many of us have been to a city council meeting more than 5 times in the last 2 years? So
Right, but
I haven't. I've missed 2 city council meetings in the last 3 years, and if I miss a city council meeting, I get a phone call. Hey, Mike, you doing okay? Because I don't sit on the city council. I sit in the back of the room because I want to know what's going on. So when we talk about we need a recreation center, I'm watching them allocate the budget, so I can go, hey, Donovan, they own one. We got money for a recreation center in our city. So we got money for housing in our city because I'm there. And so when they come knock on my door and they say, oh, I'm running to do X, Y, and Z, I was like, no, you're not. I can go back and I'll tell you everything you said in the last 4 years while you was in office, and I know what you did and didn't do because we're paying attention. Now, I'll be honest, I own a business, so I can create my own schedule, so I'm privileged in that. We got YouTube, all these city council meetings, everything that these two do, is public. So you can look at what are your state reps voting for, what is your city council voting for, or what bills voting on, not voting like electorally.
Oh, they call it
Just to be clear.
scorecard, baby.
Yes, you can pull their scorecard to see. We talk about housing and the economy. What's their scorecard on the housing and economy? What's their scorecard on jobs? What's their scorecard on small businesses and wages and stuff? We can be told a lie when we're not informed. So we have to inform ourselves so that when they come to lie to us, we can go, oh, you phony. You on Uncle Tom.
But you know they know how to play with the numbers too. Easily.
You can't play numbers if you
Yes, you can play
educate.
numbers. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I've been in it. Listen, I know how this goes. Whoever put this party together, y'all have to keep it within your means of the conversation because I understand how this goes. But I'm
Cut these cameras off. I'll take the blood.
Nobody's holding back any punches, so speak your mind, man. Let's go, Monty. Let's go.
Let me get to the other council.
No, speak your mind. No, now you want to get right up.
Hey, Monty,
Okay.
Monty, let me say this real quick. Everybody tells you to vote, but everybody's not an educated voter.
Thank you.
We fall, hold on. We fall for the okie doke.
Okay.
We allow certain preachers, organizations to tell us, oh, this is a good dude. Now, I've been on the tail end. I done got my ass whipped in a couple elections because I'm not that guy. I live in the house in the neighborhood I grew up in. Okay, I didn't move in. Everybody knows me, so I can't lie and go home and think it's gonna be all good.
Yeah.
But we let people move in our communities, and folks get behind them. They sell your bill of goods, and shit don't get better for you, your family, or nobody else. But they get a check, and then they move on to another office.
I agree.
We have to do our homework. That's number one. Number two, when only 15% of folks that are eligible to vote, that's the tyranny of the minority. Because you got some cats that always vote. Doesn't matter what it is. I can't tell you how many people have thrown me a fundraiser and need to understand that the primary is where it ends.
Yep.
August. Guy say, I'm going to get you in November. Man, I lost by 12 votes. You can't get me in November. We have to do better. We got to stop complaining.
But you see
It's
how
too
you
much
talking
on-
to me?
Yeah. That's how I talk.
They don't talk like that though.
Well, you know why?
You're talking today, though.
No.
You're talking
No.
today,
I'm gonna tell you. Well, I'm a little different. You know why? I'm 62. I've been retired 16 years. I get a pension. I got a business. They control you when they control your money. Some people get this job and they get caught up in the trappings. They get so caught up there. Hey man, I can't tell you what we're doing in the back room. I'm telling everything. And I'll tell you why. There's only 6 black males in the legislature.
Come on.
That's the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
Out of 148.
Yeah.
I fight like hell up there.
Yeah.
I expect to fight Republicans. I even expect to fight progressive Democrats. But when I'm sick and tired of coming home and fighting with folks in my neighborhood talking about I ain't up there doing shit.
Right.
And I'm bloodied and I'm bruised because when we were a minority, my job was to make it less bad. I couldn't stop it from being bad. Any contract negotiators in here? You go in the room and they want to take everything from you. You just walk out with what you had. And your union members talk about you didn't do shit. Man, they was trying to take your other 4 sick days. Man, they was trying to take your clothing allowance. They were trying to take the things that we had. I stopped that, but I'm still a failure. But I have to tell the whole story, and then they get it.
Yeah.
But we got to have these conversations. And it's got to be based on trust, too. We got to trust one another.
Communication.
I know, but the communication always start when you running.
Well, we don't let you touch on something. So number one, I think that you're right. There are not enough black men, not only in the legislature but elected today. Well, there are not enough black men that understand our plight elected today. Because there's a congressman, I think, from this area who might not understand where me and you come from. But that's on us. Part of that is on us having those conversations with them too. Part of that is on us participating too. Part of that is on us making sure that we're involved. I know it's a lot. Well, I'm not saying that you don't. I'm not saying that you don't, but it's not enough of us black men participating. It's not enough black men going to city council meetings. And whether it's in Detroit, Warren, or county commission meetings in Oakland County, Macomb County, Washtenaw County, it's not enough black men showing up in Lansing for hearings, period. It's only a handful that actually always show up. And I'm telling you, both of these guys can tell you who all 5 of them guys are, because they see them on a regular. But we're not involved enough, and there is space for us. There is a platform for us. We don't take the time to do more. And so I want to get to a couple people. We're going to come to a living wage and get to you. But I want this young man who just ran for, I want this young man who is very involved in the community to say a piece.
I'll be Christian, guys, right? So to touch on what you're saying, Monty, you're 100% right? So I just ran for county commissioner, Wayne County Commissioner. I went against a good incumbent, lost, but it was a great race. It was a great fight. Now, I did such a good job that the competition reached out and pulled me in. So now we're working together. But to touch on what Al's saying, here's some, I pride myself on being very educated on all things. Like you said, you're an unlicensed counselor. I'm an unlicensed counselor as well. I really just realized this year how important our local elections are. I was always a November voter. I'm 42 years old. I never voted in August until I ran. Right? So I'm seriously like, this goes back into the schools, but we got to get more engaged and we got to stop being so busy and take time with our own children to teach them the game. We can't be running to the seniors because who's going to be the next seniors? Who's the next voting pool? Before you know it, in my area, because I'm East Side, I'm Jefferson and St. Jean. Before you know it, it's going to be a different race walking to my door saying, "Hey, how you doing? This is what I can do for you."
And they all live down there in New Orleans.
Yeah, they're right down the street. They're right down the street. So I'm just saying, we're still chocolate city, but as everybody here said, we got to get more engaged. This is the most important thing for me because I run youth sports and I literally have all my boys working in campaign with me just to give them insight because our local election is the most important thing that we got. We're worried about Kamala and Trump. We need to be worried about state rep, city council, county commission, senate.
Right.
School board.
He's right. We got to get more engaged on a local level. We have to understand what the issues are that we're dealing with, and we all have our own agenda or perception on things, for sure. And you may think of things a different way. I may think of things a different way, but guess what? When we communicate together, we can come to a solution or something that we can agree on. For instance, when we're talking about living wage, we got a young man right here from SEIU. If you don't know what SEIU does, man, you better find out because they've been fighting for minimum wage and living wage for a long period of time. So I want to give him his beat to just talk. Go ahead, take your 2 minutes.
Yeah. Tell what SEIU stands for.
Again, SEIU, it stands for Service International Employees Union. So I'm gonna just give you an example. Like you were saying, why would they be at Burger King's striking? So if you got these corporations that supports a certain candidate that can write in a certain law where he can keep wages right here for the business aspect. Remember you said, are you a employee or are you a owner? Yeah. So if I'm an owner and you're running for a campaign that there's a bill that says, okay, all franchise owners or corporations, the minimum wage is $15. We're gonna keep it at that. So all your profits skyrockets because you're getting cheap labor. You're a $1 billion corporation. This is not a teenager job like it used to be when we grew up. But it's not. It wasn't making $1 billion when we were.
Well, who gonna work while kids are in school? Who gonna work?
They are gonna take your jobs. But the point I was trying to make,
and I get your point. This is the reality. A $1 billion corporation can back a candidate, but they can't vote.
Thank you.
You got to organize all your work. So you guys have been doing a hell of a job.
yeah, they can
They
dress
can
it
put
up.
money behind it. Look, I was in a race where my competitor raised over $150,000. I put up 60 of my own, but I had a ground game. I had a connection to that community. People knew me. Some people can buy votes. It happens.
They can buy bills. They can buy.
But if you
a
got
number
the
of things.
if you got the numbers, the old saying is when we vote, we win.
Right.
You got to get folks energized to understand.
Created those slogans that you hear folks
I get it,
and say.
and it don't change, but you got to get folks to come out. The other group has been great at taking things off the ballot. Remember they took marijuana off the ballot, right?
Right.
Because they figured all the people that smoke weed was gonna come out in young cats.
Bingo.
So they changed it. Then they took minimum wage off the ballot. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, this was
And
Governor
then they
Snyder.
staggered it, and folks thought they got a win,
quarter
but
of
you didn't get a
year.
win.
Right.
You get a quarter a year
But
to
now-
make it to 15. You know how long that's
But
going to take
now-
to get to
That's it right there.
15? Not
But
even
it
a
goes
number
back
no
to
more.
this. 15% of eligible voters voted. That means 85% did.
That's why we were there to bring
You get what
awareness,
you get when you vote or
education.
don't vote.
We're educating you on that system so you can be aware of what the monopoly is, and we can break the monopoly because that's us in those places working those jobs.
Right.
It's
So-
nobody else.
Well, in a lot of places, you're right. In Michigan, there are a lot more fast food workers that come from our communities than most others. But that's not the only job there is. I'm a business owner. And we can get back into to living wage, and I want to move on to another topic. But, I pay my employees more than minimum wage. I pay my employees, I make sure that my employees have health care. I make sure that they have the care that they need. They have voluntary benefits. So they can literally get paid for taking a mental day off. And so, but I got happy employees too. And the business that I'm in, though, I own 3 dispensaries.
How many employees do you have? That's
120.
right.
So I'm still a small business owner.
Have
I'm not,
thousands of employees.
yeah, I'm only at 130 actually, 129. But I'm a small business owner. I own a dispensary. So when you talk about cannabis and marijuana, my employees are actively voting because they understand the importance of this very fragile issue in this very fragile industry. So I make sure that they get, well, it don't matter who they vote for, but they get active, they get involved. I make sure that they go to city council meetings. Matter of fact, I gave all my employees the day off, the day city council in the city of Detroit was talking about moving from medical to recreational. They all went up there, they all packed the house, they were all involved. You know why? Because at that time, their jobs was on the line. And that's right. But that's how we need to look at it. That's exactly how we need to look at our communities. When they talk about education, we got invested interest. Everybody in here with a child should have invested interest. Everybody in here who in high school should have invested interest. When they talk about second chance citizens and giving people a second chance when they coming out of jail, everybody that's been to jail has a misdemeanor and or a felony. Guess what? When it comes down to voting for the attorney general, all y'all should have invested interest. Because when you get in your expungement, there's one person that definitely got to sign it. That's your attorney general and the prosecutor for your county. So we should all have invested interest based on that issue.
Yeah, I don't want to skip him. I want to just say one thing really quick. Like, I appreciate you for giving your folks the day off for that. We take days off of work because we don't feel good. We take days off of work for vacation. My vacation won't necessarily change my life, but going down and voting can. In the city of Warren, in the primary election last year, black people had the lowest percentage out of every demographic in the city of Warren to vote. 6%. 25% of the city is black. 6% participated. I know you guys are saying you're voting and stuff. I appreciate that. Y'all are one of few. If we want, politicians have a limited number of time to go out and canvass, a limited number of time to interact with folks. They care about voters. If we want our voices heard, we have to engage in the process. We have to engage in the process. I know you want to say something about economics and economy, so I'm going to go ahead. TC wants you to get the mic.
I'll just be quick.
So I'm going to honor rep.
No, don't be quick. Just take your 2 minutes, brother.
So funny. So, like, the gentrification and reintrification.
Talk to Mike.
thing.
Talk to Mike.
Gentrification, reintrification. So, Detroit has like the worst like payment for people who don't have an actual degree. That's one thing that's they're kind of like pushing for, like black folks to be down and everybody else to be up. Detroit, you have to have a degree when working in the city. If not, you're going to be working at a part-time or another type of job.
If you black.
No, I'm not saying if you're black, but education. Don't you remember back in the day they said if you want to hire somebody?
I'm in the marijuana community, and I know a whole bunch of Chaldeans that didn't go to college. And they all making money.
No.
I'm just saying.
But that's a different tax thing. They're getting tax write-offs for just having that business alone. They don't do that for black folks. And you know that for sure. If they want to hide it from us, they put it in the book. The industry that I work in, I work for Spirit Airlines, but I fix airplanes. The school that I went to has an opening for anybody. But the thing is tokenism is so real. And people don't even think about it. Tokenism is real. The one he said that he was one of 6 dudes, black dudes that was in his field. I am one of 5. And it's 180 people that work in my company. So it's real. Education should be pushed for everybody. And then if it's not pushed for everybody, we will still be in that same demographic. Also, when it comes to the voting, when he said that, unity is our biggest downfall for the black community. There is no unity. There is nothing that makes us be like we're together. If you look at the Arabs, they bond. The Jews, they bond. The blacks, we're irregular. I'm gonna do my thing, you gonna do yours. Good job, bro. So our biggest thing for us is unity and education. If those two things go, the housing market will actually benefit with us because you're not gonna be educated when buying the property.
I hear you 100%. I went to Morehouse College, and I'm going to get you, come on up. I went to Morehouse College, and I know that there are a number of people who went to college in this community or in this room. But, you know, and I want to talk about this, whether you went to college or not, I want you to speak, and then, you know, we're going to lean into the lack of business development there is for African American males in this city or in these cities, in these counties, and in this state. And what are we doing to improve the opportunity for business development for African American males? Say your name, say your piece.
All right. My name is Abe. I've been hearing a lot about us talking about politics and getting out the vote, which all of those things is true, but I just kind of wanted to put a little spin on it, just a little bit. I feel that technology is a lot of things that's hurting a lot of people being at work as well. And I give you an example of what I'm talking about. You can go to Myers that sit right there on 10 Mile and Shane. And although we saying that people don't want to work and stuff like that, I'm seeing how some of those mid-level jobs, the $12 to $13 an hour jobs, are being taken away because you have technology that's sitting there and you're doing your self-swipes and scanning your own food and doing all this other kind of stuff. So they might pay one person $20 an hour, but he's sitting there watching 6 jobs. There used to be 6 jobs for people doing self-scans and stuff like that. And the technology, to me, I feel, is one of the big crises that's kind of taking away jobs. That Subway right there, they used to employ maybe 10 people down there. Now you go down there, you touch on the kiosk, and you only got one person back there making your food and stuff like that. Now that person might be making $15 an hour, but you done lost 4 or 5 different jobs already. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, you're talking to your 2 state legislatures right now who believe in technology.
That's what I'm saying.
I know they got a vote up here when it comes to that.
That's what I'm saying.
Now,
They said it was a cause and effect for that.
we gotta talk about.
Cause and effect.
So take this, the Warren trucking plant, Stellantis Warren trucking plant, right there off of Mound Road.
Everybody knows Stellantis make Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Chargers.
So my great granddad, my granddad, they all worked for Ford. My father-in-law, who passed away last year, worked at the old Mound engine plant right there at 8 Mile and Mound in our district. They're doing the same thing they did a few years ago. They retooled shops, which is Sterling Heights Assembly Plant, and about 10 years ago, because they already have a 30, 40, 50-year strategy. They're already planning for the future. We are ones in our community that don't plan for the long-term future. We plan for this weekend, to be honest, and that's about it. Maybe the end of the month. But we don't have an exact plan. So this is what I'm working on in the legislature. I appreciate TC because he was there with me, and he fought to we got $8 million to bring Davis. Y'all heard about Davis Aerospace?
Yeah.
This is the only high school in the nation.
In the nation.
With an FAA curriculum on a high school level. They're teaching these kids how to break down, build planes. The mechanics behind it is named after the first black 4-star general in the U.S. United States Air
I thought
Force.
they closed Davis Aerospace.
No, it was always open. They just took it away from the airport. We're bringing it back because of state investment. So now, me being one of the first blacks out of Macomb County, and having a defense corridor with Northeast Detroit and Macomb, I'm thinking bigger, right? So I had the opportunity to go to London with our lieutenant governor just last month, and we went to the biggest air show in the world called Farm Bureau. And essentially we met with about maybe 30 Fortune 500 companies, as well as future startups that are all across the world, but they want to break into the United States. And they need our talent. And they need our manufacturing hubs. And guess what? We have a bunch of abandoned sites, including the Warren Trekking Plant that's about to get abandoned in a few years. Guaranteed it's going to probably be abandoned next year. Wow. And we need to figure out how to fill these sites with the new tech jobs that our people can work at. Because guess what Michigan does better than any other damn state in the country? We make stuff. We manufacture stuff. We have the talent right here. Why not cultivate it? Right? Why not look at putting it in another industry that does manufacturing, but also research and development? These are the future jobs. We're not talking about that on the local level, at the schools. I was with the CEO, Warren Evans, our Wayne County executive, and he sees it because he wants to do something similar for Grosse Ile and the Willow Run Airport out there for those communities of Romulus and Belleville, those black communities and those kids that need to get, you know, an opportunity into this field. Do y'all understand aerospace and defense? The entry-level jobs. Can y'all guess the amount per year an entry-level job makes in this industry?
200.
$95,000.
Oh, get out of here.
Entry level. And guess what? You don't need to go to college for it, y'all. You ain't gotta waste your time. And so, I'm not saying college is a waste of time, it benefited me. But in this day and age, we want our kids to, hey, whatever you're doing out of high school, plug and play, baby. Plug and play. Go make your money. Stay out these damn streets because these streets are dangerous.
So
Yeah.
let's give it, first of all, big shout out to Davis Aerospace and the city of Detroit City Airport, which is a hidden jewel in the city or this region. It's right here. There's a big shortage on air pilots.
Yep.
Not only do they have an opportunity for you to go get a helicopter and take your girl on a date, but they also have, you can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
From City Airport, you can ride around the helicopter around the city, but you can also, I've done it before, but you can also learn how to fly. They have private pilot license going out to the City Airport.
Al, let me just jump in one minute for what you said. So the city, we did put up the money for the new Davis Aerospace. But the issue that we've always struggled with in our community is access.
True.
Okay, skilled trades.
True.
It's been accessed.
Yeah.
You know, they made the apprentice program. You've never heard them say that we have a shortage of people. We've always had an abundance of people.
Yeah.
We just haven't had access to some of these top tier paying jobs. When I worked at the sheriff's department, the tradespeople, they had one black tradesman. Guess what he was? A painter. Iron workers. They came in and fixed the bars. Elevator cats. Plumbers. It's been boiler operators. It's been electricians. Even at the plants, it's been access.
Yep.
We've had to fight for that access. We've always had to fight for that access. And then when we get in, you can't snatch the ladder up. You got to reach your hand down.
Yes.
And you got to pull more people up.
That's true.
I'm searching right now for somebody to take my seat. See, that's the other issue. We want to have an honest conversation.
Yeah.
You got to take your hat off to President Biden. You know how hard it is to give up power?
Yeah.
We've had some powerful black men
In politics,
that
it's
did
unheard of.
that did. Thank you. We've had some powerful black men that we're gonna be
It's
honest,
unheard of.
didn't have a succession plan.
Yep.
Coleman Young didn't have a succession plan. John Conyers didn't have a succession plan.
Richard Austin.
So we have to look up and say, how do we do this?
That's true.
You got to be willing to put in the work. Folks see the glamour part of this job. I live in Southwest Detroit, but if Donovan knows, as the chair of the Detroit caucus, if he needs me, I'm coming.
Yeah, he does.
I'm coming. Because everybody can't get back up. We got to back up one another. And the other thing is, we want to have honest conversations. We got to stop this infighting between black men and black women.
Boom.
I spoke to some AKs the other day, and I said, we are the only group. Hold on. But we got to start that conversation. We got to start that conversation because this is the deal. We're the only culture and group of people where our women say they don't need a man.
Yeah, they do.
That's true.
I've never heard any other race say that they don't need a man.
Okay,
that has been,
so let's
that has been perpetuated by.
Let's start right here. Hold on. No, we gonna talk about that right here. I'm with you on that. But listen, no, we got time. Hold on. I'm with you on that. And we gonna let everybody speak. But let's broaden that out a little bit. Let's broaden that out a little bit, everybody. Let's broaden that out a little bit, because at the end of the day, black women right now are some of the most sought out individuals.
Highly educated.
Not only in the professional industry, political industry, but just in a cultural kind of thing. I mean, just looking at rap right now. I mean, you know, black women right now are the creme de la creme of everything.
They took over.
You know, matter of fact, they base Jeep Wrangler sales off of what black women want.
Exactly.
That Jeep Wrangler, their top, the Stellantis, their top VP of marketing is a black woman, and she started the whole female Jeep campaign. Period. And so that's a micro, that's a little, that helps you understand where black women are in this society right now. And so I hear you 100%.
Well,
but right now,
the point I was going to make real quick.
But hold on, but right now, let me.
We got to stop this infighting.
I'm with you. I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight with
them. When they
rise,
we rise.
Well, I'm trying to make a point. So listen, this is what I'm saying. Also, black women right now are they're being lifted up into positions of power, unlike, I believe, black men are at this present time. Politically, black women are getting all kind of money to do all kind of things. And they're being elected in numbers that we have never seen before. And so I hear what you're saying. I don't want to infight with black women, but how do we go about as black men in leadership positions, not only supporting them, but also starting our own sort of movement similar to what black women are experiencing right now?
I got something to say. Yeah. I got something to say. They raising men there never dated. Raising men there never dated. We can do this. We can do this.
No, I'm not cutting off. I had to ask him a legal question.
Hey, brother, he's 62.
No, I had to ask him a legal question. So go ahead.
I don't need no one. But listen, hold up.
No, we're recording. So
That's what started it, right there.
We're just trying to
Took the man out the house and put the
I got
government in
some
there.
passion here. I got some real passion. I love what you just said.
Yeah.
As a licensed professional counselor, I look at how do I help that young man right there understand what it is to grow to be a man, how to treat a woman. We all came from a woman. Why would you ever disrespect a woman? I teach young men this. We don't have time to disrespect our women because they hold us up. That's what this barbershop thing says to me. We need to have more of these at every barbershop around anywhere black men go.
Say that.
We all need to come together. We can do it. What are you teaching the young men is how we gonna do it.
I love it.
So I got two quick things. One, I believe when men lead, we will succeed. I think it's a biblical principle, but a lot of times, a lot of social movements and stuff, sometimes we take the back seat and we I just don't feel like dealing with this. Everybody talking about mental health right now. All black men used to say, that's white people stuff. Black women would talk about mental health. Our response, that's white people stuff. Now all of us are championing mental health because we know it's vital for what? Going back to what you said earlier, stability. The playbook is already clear. And I had to check with them. So I started an organization to do exactly what you said. How do we build capital and communities so that we can leverage ourselves in community? So we started a Black Leadership Action Fund so we can build together. This is the problem. It comes back to what TC said, it comes back to unity. When it comes to raising capital for us to succeed, I got call after call from black men and black women, with the exception of Donovan. Why you got these white people helping you? Well, they're helping us succeed. Why? It's not just about oh, I'm only going to work with black folks.
Right.
It's about working with everybody. I spent 7 hours on the phone arguing with black people. Why did I take a check from a white lady? I'm like, I spent 15 minutes on the phone with white folks and raised $1,500. I spent 7 hours on the phone with black folks, didn't raise a dime. And so when we talk about how do we move forward, we have the money, we have the capital, and ourselves. We got to stop arguing with one another, stop expecting perfection. I don't agree with everything TC said, and I don't agree with everything Donovan said or Rock or anybody else in here, but I'm not going to judge. Do we have to agree with everything to work together? No.
Man, Donovan be coming up with some ideas. I'm like, God damn. but I support him.
That's right.
I support him.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not gonna let nobody come for him. I'm not gonna let somebody chump him off. But I'm like, oh Lord, he's done. But that's my guy.
Yeah. So we need that. So you know, I think that we need to, and you know, I hate saying this though, but I think that we need to, because I work in I own a dispensary. I own 3 dispensaries, and I see people that are outside of our race supporting each other more than I see us.
Yes.
And I'm not about infighting with black women. I know we need to support them, and we can always lead from the back. But what I'm trying to get to is, how do we do a better job as black men supporting the initiatives, the leaders, and the issues that we all are faced with? We all need stability. Everybody in here at some point gonna want to own a business, whether it's a side hustle business or a corporation. Whether it's a barbershop or a dispensary. Whether you're a pastor, a preacher, or a principal going to start your own small business education tutoring sessions or whatever. Or a counselor. At some point we all want to own our own business. How do we do a better job making sure that black men not only work and support each other, but have more business development opportunities?
Black Leaders Detroit, right there.
Yeah. So first thing I want to say is when it comes to the fighting between men and women. So one of my friends, her name is Shakira. She actually started a healing project that is once every month, the last Sunday of every month, where she basically goes over communication skills between just people in general, but obviously between men and women, and just stopping that whole narrative of, you know, we don't like each other, we hate each other. And it's a really dope project that she's been doing over the years. She's starting to get a lot of acknowledgement for it. So I just say that to say that there are a lot of things going on in the community that people may not know about, but we are looking to just take ownership of our own lives. Because I think what I see as black people is, it's like 3 demographics. One is like the informed, one is the uninformed, and then the last demographic is the ones that's just tired of the system. They're just tired of it. So in the village that I come from, we are doing things like healing cancer, we healing lupus, we healing fibroids, we healing that. When I say heal, I mean heal. Not, oh, you gotta keep coming back every few weeks, few months to get this medicine. We healing that. That's unheard of. That's why a lot of black people are tired of the system in general, because we get fed a lot of things that just simply aren't true. So for me, like, if I was to ever meet a person, the people who ever created the cancer organization or whatever, to me that's a joke. To say that there is no cure. It is a cure for cancer. There's tons of cures for cancer. My people are healing it. Some people are using cannabis to heal cancer. And I'm not even referring to that. I'm not a person who has experienced that, but I do know that that's true.
Shameless plug, I'm on the cut. We're on grass shit. Medical supply.
And then when it comes to like doulas and things like that, people are giving up on the hospital system. So, but they're realizing like, well, what was people doing before there was a such thing as hospitals? What was people doing? People was birthing their own kids. So it goes back to that education thing and just equipping ourselves with the knowledge that it takes to just live life in general. So, you know, even a lot of, again, in my village, people are tired of the school system. So now they homeschooling their kids, teaching kids things that they would never learn in school. So that's like the three demographics of like why you don't see everybody in one particular pool voting or taking part in things. Some people are informed, some are not, and then some people are just tired and taking matters into their own hands. Now, when it comes to like business development, I started working at Black Leaders Detroit last year in March. And me being a business owner before I became a part of Black Leaders Detroit, I was like, damn, like, I never knew all of these resources was here. Yeah. Now, to be clear, Black Leaders Detroit offers funding to black-owned businesses in the city. So you can receive grants. You can also receive up to $25,000 in a loan at no interest. So we're not charging any interest on any of our loans, which for me, when I found out about that, I was like, this can't be a real company. But, you know, but it is. But I also talk to the other organizations that they just really don't do enough marketing to let business owners know that they exist. I had no idea that you have, you know, companies like Build Institute or what was called MBBA, Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance. Like I had no idea that these type of organizations even exist. So to me, a lot of it comes down to a marketing thing and making people know that there are resources, and a lot of them are free that are out there. But right now, like I said, this is, to me, the marketing isn't that great.
So there are dollars out there are organizations out there that support black businesses, you're right. And there are growing dollars and growing organizations that support black business development. I'm also talking about legislation on how we can improve and make sure locally and statewide that we are supporting black business development.